wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. People are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep, the fund guy, was with him all the time. What's his name? Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Hi, and welcome to another Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig James, and today we're going to be talking about some of these big stories that have been happening. Is it a coincidence that on the day of Dick Cheney's funeral, we have President Trump calling for seditious members of Congress to face a punishment that you'll see here in just a minute, pretty severe, and we're going to talk about that. They're calling on active military members to disobey illegal orders, but we'll look at what those illegal orders may actually be, and we're going to talk about that in relation to what's happened also with the White House, President Trump meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. A lot of interesting things happen, a lot of things converging, so we're going to get into that here on today's show. But I want to start here, as always. If you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. All you got to do is come over here to the Just Informed Talk YouTube page. There's a button right here. Click it, and then make sure you hit all so you get all the notifications. But that's where we're going to start. Now, also, if you're not following me over on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. Now it's called X, of course, but you can follow me at Just Informed, the number 1 right there. But let's start with this story. Trump calls for arrest of seditious Democrats who sent coordinated message to military members. Now, this is a story that just is breaking. Donald Trump lashed out Thursday at congressional Democrats who urged America's service members to disobey orders they might consider to be illegal. 6 Democrats took to social media Tuesday, suggesting members of the military could be called upon to act illegally and encouraging them to feel emboldened to refuse orders. Now, I don't know about you, but this reminds me of what we saw during the first Trump term, where you had every member of Congress and the media calling on every member of the government and military to refuse Trump's orders, and they did in many cases. We have documented cases. For instance, if you recall, there were members of the top brass in the military who were lying to President Trump about the situation on the ground to deceive him, to keep him going into certain conflicts that they wanted him to go into. That all came out later. You had, members of his administration lying to him, deceiving him, manipulating him, all at the behest of these deep state actors who've been calling for it. So this is the same thing we're seeing here now, and it shouldn't surprise anybody, but Trump's response, I think, is the kind of response you'd expect from a man who realizes the slippery slope that he's about to step on if he allows this kind of thing to go unchecked. And I'll show you what they did here in a second, but here is the actual post itself. So in response to a Washington Examiner article, President Trump, and I'll read the article here in a second, but President Trump says, "This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up." President DJT. Now, what does the article say? So it's about Democrat veterans in Congress who are urging service members to refuse unspecified lawful orders. And it goes on to talk about how a half dozen Democrat veterans in Congress released a joint video urging U.S. service members to disobey unlawful orders, though they did not specify what those would be. Now, the people in this video are Alyssa Slotkin, Mark Kelly, Jason Crow from the state of Colorado, where I'm at. That guy's a complete scumbag. Maggie Goodlander, Chris DeLuzio, and Chrissy Houlihan. And if you go read through this, you can see here where Jason Crow, the member from Colorado, says here on Fox News, quote, "We are standing by our troops, our service members who are often put in very difficult positions, and Donald Trump has put them in a very difficult position and has alluded to putting them in even more difficult positions in the months and years ahead. So we are reminding folks about what the Uniform Code of Military Justice says, what the Constitution says, and what the law of war says," he says here on Fox News. And this goes into what they've been insinuating, though. For the last year or so, they've been insinuating that every order Trump's been giving, whether it's to the National Guard or it's to the military, whether it's cleaning up our cities and getting rid of the crime and the illegals, or it's getting rid of the cartel that is smuggling drugs into our country and killing families and destroying our nation. They're saying that those orders are illegal, and they've been saying it over and over and over again. They're saying these are illegal orders. They're making that case. They're arguing it. Now they put together this little video and post it online, and they're shocked when Trump says something like, "You are encouraging a seditious conspiracy against me. You are encouraging the military to disobey lawful orders, which you have called unlawful, which are actually lawful," right? So this is where it gets into it. And they play this semantic game, which it makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest with you. It's all semantics. It's all, we just said don't obey unlawful orders. We just said disregard unlawful orders. We're just reminding them, no, you're not. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly the game they're playing. And they're doing all of this, in my opinion, to change the script, to change the narrative, to push the focus away from all these other things that have been happening, including the Epstein stuff. Because the Epstein stuff is the funniest thing ever. Trump got the Democrats to basically call for the release of the Epstein files. Now he signed them into being released. And what are we finding out? We're finding out that Democratic congressmen are having text message exchanges during open hearings, being instructed by Jeffrey Epstein on what to say and do. And we'll talk about that in the show here in just a minute. But you couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. You really couldn't. But it gets better.
We erased nearly 1 year of gains in the past few weeks in the market.
Thursday was the worst day for stocks since March 2020.
Hi, this is Craig, and I have an important message for all of you out there listening. The globalists and the deep state banking cartel have launched their next operation, the Great Gold Reset. Are you prepared?
That is deliberate sabotage of the world economy to cause a collapse that the banksters can loan us more money, bring in a new cashless society, social credit score. That is the end game plan.
Look, the fact of the matter is this. When this thing hits, retirement accounts, savings, anything held in dollars could vanish instantly overnight. That's why you need to protect yourself with gold.
And so I'll just be totally blunt with you. I'm a gold buyer, and I've been vindicated big time.
That's why Genesis Gold Group is offering their free report, Surviving the Great Gold Reset, Your Financial Protection Plan. Visit justinformedgold.com immediately to claim your free survival report. That's justinformedgold.com, your last line of defense against the coming dollar collapse and financial reset we all know is coming. And remember, we have to prepare today for what's coming tomorrow. So, or worse, depending on how you look at it, you keep reading through this article on what he said. He says, quote, this is Jason Crow here. Quote, Donald Trump has made a series of very disturbing comments and suggestions that would violate U.S. law and put our military in a terrible position. I don't want to wait until that happens to remind our troops of this obligation because then it will be too late. You know what he's doing and what the rest of them are doing? They're setting the stage for what they want, which is complete and total anarchy and chaos. They want civil war. They want this. Because out of chaos, they will build their new world order. That's the whole thing. If you guys have been following this for even a minute, you know that's what they're doing. But here's the video in question. I'll let you guys watch it, and we'll talk about it. Listen to this.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens like us.
Yep.
You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
Let me just pause it. These videos where they all get the same script and then read them, and then some idiot, intern edits it together as if they're all, thinking of this, organically on their own, like they had some original thought and it wasn't concocted and written by, staffers using their seedy little tactics and strategies of psychological manipulation. I mean, it makes me sick, but we'll continue. And did you notice Alyssa Slotkin? I'm a former CIA agent. Oh yeah, so that means we should really trust you, because the CIA were the ones involved with, I don't know, framing a sitting president, manufacturing the Steele dossier. Oh, but hey, now that Alyssa Slotkin's in Congress, so we have CIA members in Congress, which they were spying on Congress, so that's great. We should listen to her about not, disobeying unlawful orders. Well, Alyssa, let me ask you a question. Did you disobey the unlawful order when you were at the CIA to help your cohorts frame a sitting president who was innocent of being a Russian agent? By the way, a crime which if he had been found guilty would have been punishable by death. It would be treason. Alyssa, let's keep going though. I don't keep listening.
from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that
violate
the law
or our Constitution.
Really?
I know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Oh, really?
vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
Yeah,
The
okay.
American people need
So
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans.
the criminals in Congress have your back. We have your back. The deep state has your back. Disobey the unlawful orders, because the only orders you should be taking are not from the commander in chief. It's from Congress. It's from these elected stooges who are absolutely deep state as hell, who are going to tell you, oh, yeah, we have your back. Yeah, we need more Alexander Vindman twin brothers, whatever they are, right? We need more of that. We need more Eric Cimarellas. Can't say his name. Who knows? They may take this video down. Can't say the CIA name, people. We need more of those guys, right? We need more CIA agents, getting involved in this. This is definitely what we need. So that's what they are. That's their video.
Americans, don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Don't give up the ship. What ship? I mean, I know it's a saying. I get it. But this is what we're dealing with here. Okay? So here's where it gets interesting. You look at the tweets. So Trump put this out on Truth Social: seditious behavior punishable by death. And then there was somebody who commented to that post saying, hang them, George Washington would. And Trump reposted that. Because he knows what he's dealing with. He knows what this is all about. We all know what it is. Here's the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Let's listen to it.
If this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. If this were Republican...
Yeah, I think she's got a point. Not going to lie. I think she's on to something. And again, this is all happening on the same day as the traitor... excuse me. Get my voice back, right? The traitor Dick Cheney's funeral. Here's a little video of that. I'll play it without the music, but this is them. You can see here, you got Jill Biden, you got Mike Pence, you got the George Bush, you got Mitch McConnell, you got Kamala Harris, and the rest. All there in attendance. You know who's not there, interestingly enough? Donald Trump's not there. And why is Donald Trump not there? Well, because him and VP Vance, JD Vance, weren't invited, apparently, or chose not to go, I guess. Interesting. Remember the last state funeral they all attended together? I think it was the one where the envelopes were passed out, if you'll recall. The one where the envelopes were passed out. Maybe that's why they didn't invite him this time. I think that might have something to do with it, huh? But we all know what that is. And again, on the same day, you have the Mohammed bin Salman coming to America, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and saying this to Donald Trump, which I think we should all very much be paying attention to about 9/11. Listen to this.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism.
So remember, think about what's happening here, okay? You have all that happening with the communist, insurrectionist Democrats calling for basically a seditious conspiracy to overthrow the government again, but hey, that's fine. And then you have Dick Cheney's funeral on the same day you have, or I guess this would have been a couple days ago, but basically in the same realm of things happening here, because you got to remember, this all happened with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. So Jeffrey Epstein files get released because Democrats demand it, by the way. Trump signs that the same day he's with the Crown Prince talking about 9/11. Then Dick Cheney's funeral comes, and now you have Congress members calling for a seditious conspiracy against Trump. Because what MBS said there, and this all goes back to Las Vegas, this all goes back to the attempted hit, and I'm sorry if the light's starting to hit the wrong way. I might have to fix that, but this is all going back to what happened with Las Vegas, the relationship between Saudi and America, 9/11, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman pointing out, yes, the CIA was using Saudis with Osama to do it, but that was trying to break the relationship because we had people trying to change it. Change the relationship to Iran. Remember, that was the whole thing. But it goes on, and this was the post from Trump on Jeffrey Epstein. Here he is saying, Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated tens of thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after Epstein was charged, Democrat Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed, because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files, as everybody knows. So he goes on to say, at my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over to close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget, the Biden administration did not turn over a single file or page related to Democrat Epstein, nor did they ever even speak about him. I mean, am I the only one who was old enough to remember when Democrats were telling us that this wasn't real, that we were crazy? Yeah, I think so. Here's Trump back in this was Trump in 2015 on Epstein, just to see where he was at then. Let's listen.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends
well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play at my clubs.
Are you saying there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political problem.
That's one question. You raised the question of Jeff.
All right, so you saw there, and I'm sorry if the lighting got worse, but it's that time of day here. So hopefully the lighting will get better as we go. You saw here for yourself, right? That's Trump. That's the way he thought about it then. But then you hear, Jasmine Crockett and all these people going on CNN. This is hilarious. Just listen to part of this exchange between Jasmine Crockett. So Jasmine Crockett went on the House floor and said basically that Jeffrey Epstein was donating to Lee Zeldin. And Lee Zeldin comes out and says, that was a doctor named Jeffrey Epstein, not even the same person. Listen to her response to it. It's just ridiculous.
Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Let's hear it.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly.
Dig in.
Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain,
Lee Zeldin.
Palin,
We got him.
Rick Lazio.
That's what happens when you put
mentioned
ghetto
Lee Zeldin
people in
there. He's now
Congress.
Cabinet Secretary. He responded and said
Morons.
it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team,
She knew. I was too smart for them. I tell you what, I knew. So, I was just playing games, trying to make you think, you thought I was talking about Jeffrey Epstein. You don't know which Jeffrey Epstein I was talking about. She says, in the most retarded tone you could imagine. Stacey Plaskett, the member of Congress who was taking text message directions from Jeffrey Epstein during the impeachment hearings for Trump, had this to say about her messages and text, exchanges.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward.
We should all move forward.
Are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things. I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time,
Look at the look on their face. They don't even know what she's saying.
detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can. I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can. What don't you understand about that in regards to me taking directions from Jeffrey Epstein while at the impeachment hearing on what to say and what to ask and what to do and when to swallow my gum because I look like an idiot chewing bubble gum during the hearing? What don't you get about that? They're just sitting there like, yes, this is very... okay, well, maybe somebody will buy this. Maybe somebody will buy this garbage they're trying to sell. Here's Jasmine Crockett on Stacey Plaskett, interestingly enough.
Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been
got a
in
plea
jail.
deal.
And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time.
She got him. Oh, no. You go, girlfriend. You got him. No, she is an absolute ignoramus, imbecile, who I don't know how she made it to Congress. This is just showing you how, sort of they elevate these low IQ morons and put them in so that they can be controlled. She's the best example of that you can pull off of Congress. And she is a Timu AOC. I mean, that's compliment to AOC, I guess, that she is the lower, lesser version of AOC. And she's going to be out. Texas, I think, redistricted, so her seat's going to be gone. So it will be very nice when she is no longer with us in Congress, that is to say. So yeah, basically that's the whole rundown I wanted to get into here today. A couple other stories just to keep in mind. Speaking of the Epstein thing, we're going to see what these files end up showing. But here's General Michael Flynn. And he said this about the Epstein affair. When it comes to those social elites who now say they regret knowing Epstein or even corresponding with a known convicted pedophile, which Jasmine Crockett says she doesn't, but that's okay. Or she doesn't think it's bad. Keep in mind, they are only saying this now because they got caught. Yeah. If they are guilty, and they likely are, they must be held accountable. If they were used for spying against their own country or for other nefarious criminal acts of behavior, they need to be held accountable. I care less about the thickness of their wallets or the weight of their diamonds on their fingers or of around their necks. Our society must remain a moral society that respects life and children from the very outset, not a sometimes society. So there you go. Where morality and doing what is right gets thrown out the window simply because one has the money to burn. As far as I'm concerned, if you mess egregiously and immorally with children, you can burn in hell. I think it's as simple as that. And they will, for what they've done. There is a judgment coming on those who have engaged in all of this, and that is something that is coming for us all, that we all have to be prepared for, the judgment. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And with that, I want to leave you with these words from Scripture real quick. Really simply, I want to just read this verse because this is a verse that stands out to me. Romans 13, 3 and 4. It says, "For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer." And that's my message to all of these criminals out there. The ones who are calling for this, beware. For the one who is in authority has been placed there by God, and he is God's servant, and he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is a servant of God and an avenger. who will carry out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. And that's my message to those out there who would continue in this way. Repent, turn your life around, call to the name of Jesus, accept him as your Lord and Savior, and pray for mercy. That's my message. So that's where we're going to leave it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, make sure you go check out the channel. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Also, again, you can follow me at justinformed1 on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. We'll be back for another episode sooner than later. Make sure you guys watch the interview I dropped yesterday. It was a great one with Ian Trottier on John Brennan. That should be on the channel as well as other stuff. So go check it out. But until then, I'm your host, Craig James. This is Just Informed Talk. We'll see you on the next one. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.